The Able to Care podcast is sponsored by Able Training Support Limited, who build partnerships with organisations to develop confidence and competence in their team to promote positive outcomes for all. Find the link in the description. Hello and welcome to the Able to Care podcast. My name is Andy Baker and I'm your host. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about creating a positive environment. So within all care settings, predominantly, we are talking about promoting that positive environment. I think first impressions are huge. And although first impressions can often be wrong, I think they do matter. They do impact on immediately then the relationships we start to form with the particular setting. So some of you listening might be the care setting we're referring to is your own home. But for many of you, it's within a commercial setting, okay, a residential home. So there's a few things I think are worthwhile considering. So first off, a warm, welcoming environment. So whether it be your own home, which has got that natural element to it anyway, or a larger residential environment, we know that a homely environment significantly kind of improves outcomes, sense of self-esteem, sense of well-being. We never want to go back to the old institutionalized kind of environments, the orphanages and things like that we know were not synonymous with having positive outcomes and positive mental well-being. So it wants to be clean, it wants to be tidy. But a big thing for me is friendly. Again, one of the first impressions that I sometimes get is when I walk into a place is whether it is warm and welcoming. Now, I understand that for me, it's now a case of I'm a professional walking into the environment. So maybe it's very different towards the service users, residents, clients, or young people that are actually living in this environment. But I think that first impression makes a huge difference on the culture and how other people see it. So being friendly, saying hello. And I always say there's an element of customer service to what we do within care, especially the commercial settings. Okay. And there is an expected service. Now, I don't believe in the customer always being right, because that's actually been taken out of context. The customer is always right in matters of choice or something along those lines. Is a full line. As far as customer service, is important. It's that expectation of the relationship, of treating me with respect, being friendly, making sure I feel important and I matter in that moment. They're the aspects of customer service that maybe I'm referring to. One thing I think is really important within a positive environment, though, is consistency and clear behavioural expectations, or clear expectations generally. That all the staff know what's expected of them, the management knows what's expected of them, the individuals who stay there, live there, know what's expected of them. And all this information is clearly laid out, clearly kind of boundaried and predictable. But it also should be regularly reviewed, because things change, people change. So we can't have, well, these are the rules here and that's just it. Well, rules change, things get better, and we need to be mindful that the culture that we have, the way we do things here, is not a positive or a negative statement, it's just a statement of fact. Okay, we can always review, and just because it's the way we always have done things doesn't mean that's the best way, especially not for a new person that's coming into the setting. And that's the same within people's own homes as well. Well, this is the way we've always done things in this house. Well, maybe this person's slightly different, or maybe this person's changing, and therefore we may need to change some of those things to adapt to promote the environment to be the best it can be for all, the best outcomes for all. This is where then collaboration across the board can really come into play, because if one person dictates what the rules and the responsibilities are, then if all the people coming in don't agree with them, they're not going to get followed. So ideally, having a collaborative kind of approach that, yes, some ultimate decisions may need to be taken, but maybe it's worth kind of talking to all the staff or to all the teachers to go, what do you guys think the rules should be? What do you think the boundaries should be? What should be the rewards and the reinforcers that we try and utilize within this setting? What are the kind of the behavioral management strategies that we use, and making sure everybody's included, because again, the more people are involved in the process, the more likely they are to stick to them. And that's where we come into the ethos of the setting. Do people feel valued, safe, and secure? Whether that be staff feeling safe and secure in their job, but also feeling valued as workers, as members of staff. As soon as we get that lack of value, morale is going to drop off, productivity is going to drop off, and more than likely attitudes are going to deteriorate. So we're not just talking about the individuals who are being supported, but does everybody in the environment feel valued and appreciated? And this could be, again, when we're creating preventative rules, I try and look at across the whole board. Does everybody here feel valued? If people aren't, it could be one person. It's that bad apple that ruins a bunch. And I'm not saying that person who's not feeling valued is a bad apple, but it's going to have a knock-on effect. It's going to have that domino effect as far as the atmosphere, the attitude, the culture that we then have. A big thing for me as far as indication of positive environment is things like approach to training. Now, obviously, this is going to be coming from a slightly selfish point of view as I run a training company, and therefore, absolutely, my well-being relies on organizations having training. But for me, it is so important that whether it be a really good onboarding process, whether it be a really good supportive and shadowing kind of process, or whether it be specific, applicable and beneficial training. This is where I sometimes get a little frustrated with some e-learning courses, not all. Some online courses are really good, but sometimes online courses are created for the general. And therefore, there may be certain questions that staff have or that parents may have that, well, that course didn't answer it for me and I've got nobody to ask, I've got nobody to clarify. Or the example that's given within the online learning may not be appropriate for the setting that the actual staff are in or working with or the individuals they're supporting. So although I understand the financial benefits of doing some courses online are absolutely fine, for me, face-to-face or virtual courses where you are dealing with an instructor, a person who, even if they don't know the answer, they'll actively try and find it out, is straight away a more applicable to the environment that the staff are in. If I'm just doing a generic course, I may not be able to kind of connect the dots and go, oh, this is a bit like in my environment. So sometimes that needs that personalized touch to it. For me as well, knowledge is power. Knowledge is protection. So I always try and get over that if I'm working in an environment supporting individuals with acquired brain injury, I need to understand as much about brain injury as I possibly can. It doesn't mean I then understand the person, but it may mean that I better understand some of the challenges and difficulties that they might face. So then I can get to know the person themselves. But I think a bit of a fundamental knowledge of the conditions that I might be working with and supporting can be really helpful. One, to promote empathy, but also to improve the quality of care. Also, as far as support is concerned, is clear routes of communication. This is a good hierarchy that we always know who we can talk to if we're not happy. If we don't have clear and open communication and an ability for somebody to kind of go, I'm not happy about this, or I don't feel comfortable with this, or what should I do? This is where we get problems with the culture becoming negative or hearsay or shaming and blaming and the kind of the rumors and gossip and things like that can actually damage the culture, damage the setting. We are ideally trying to build a sense of community within the environment. And that doesn't mean that all the staff or all the service users or all the residents have to be best buddies, but we do want a place where everybody can collaborate, work together, and some semblance of community. Doesn't mean that every individual is going to get on with each other, and we can't enforce that community. But the more we can kind of feel like, hey, we get on, we at least trust each other and respect each other enough to be able to communally live. When we're talking about this sense of community, it shouldn't necessarily just be the individuals who actually live on site. There may be other people who could be affected. So having a really good relationship, schools having really good relationships with parents and family and making sure we've got open dialogues and open door policies and talk to us. And, they're looked on as experts about their child. I think it's very easy to fall into traps sometimes of they're an emotional individual who doesn't understand what's going on. But a lot of the time, we're always looking out for the best interests of those that we care for and love. That can be from very different points of view, which can cause a clash. But yeah, having that kind of that mentality of we're working together in this to promote the best outcomes, to improve that well-being to the best of our ability. So open dialogue and having a really good sense of kind of involvement of family, involvement of, and one I always wonder about as well, I hope that when I reach my older years, that also some of my friends would be considered as far as knowing what might be in my best interests and being involved as far as being invited and things like that. I think we put a hyper focus on family, and family, yes, can be hugely important for some individuals, but some individuals, they don't have a lot of family, but did have a lot of friends. And are they still being nurtured? Are they still being supported? Are they still being connected with? So if I just kind of summarize on a few of those bits, when we're creating that positive environment within care, I think a warm, welcoming, so thinking about the actual setting itself, the way it laid out, the way it looks, clean, tidy, but friendly first and foremost. Clear behavioural strategies and policies or care plans. So everybody's singing off the same hymn sheet as much as we possibly can. But a big part of that being collaborative. So everybody's involved in what's right and what's wrong for this particular setting, all stakeholders. And that allows that ethos of people feeling valued and listened to and being considered kind of hopefully comes into play, which promotes that positive sense of support, that I feel like I matter here and I get supported. Maybe I feel I can open up and talk about things that I'm not okay with or I'm not happy with, because nobody criticizes me, belittles me. They listen and they try and understand, and we work together. And also part of that support, making sure people feel confident and competent within their job through training, supervision, onboarding, whatever the process is, but making sure anybody feels that they're okay to handle what comes next. And for certain individuals who may not have that manager hierarchy, so for instance, foster parents or unpaid caregivers, they may not always feel they've got somebody to talk to. So if you are working independently, try and set that up yourself. Try and make sure you've got, and it could be, social workers, but it could be other individuals who are going through a similar thing you are. Having a relationship as a foster parent, having a relationship with other foster parents to kind of go, hey, I'm having a tough day. What do you think I should do about this? I just need to talk it through with somebody. For those of you who might be unpaid caregivers, you might feel very, very isolated and very, very alone. There are loads of community groups and there are loads of websites where you can go onto online forums and interact with people who may be going through very, very similar things to you, where maybe you can just ask the question in the group going, hey, I'm finding this difficult. Has anybody dealt with this before? What can I do? Where can I go? What support can I get? So sometimes the hierarchy, the setting can create that sense of community and support. But if not, you have to try and work to create it yourself. Hey, it's the nature of being independent and self-employed, I suppose. And the same for parents as well. Yeah, so for foster parents and parents, this is a two-way process. So if we're looking to build a sense of community and support, then that's where we can then actually search it out, and creating that community with things like the school and trying to create open dialogue and interactions and support. I know that sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. We can't always force other people to engage in that process. But the more that we work through, and worthwhile checking out the episode I did on the 3P model of social pedagogy, as far as how best to kind of approach that and try and to interact. But so as caregivers, you can start building that sense of community. I did an amazing interview with a lady the other day that is on one of the podcasts, where she was talking about a residential home that she worked in, and they created a market on a Saturday, and there was only 4 stalls, but the family were involved in that kind of the stalls and things like that. And that's a lovely sense of community that I think many of us feel like we're missing out on a day-to-day basis. Final summary: warm, welcoming environment, clean, tidy, and friendly. A positive, clear, consistent ethos, sense of community, sense of support, and clear behavioural plans and clear expectations. Hopefully it gives you a few ideas to work from, and maybe you've already got those in place, but comment below if you've come across anything that you find really beneficial, or maybe you find harder in certain settings of how you can meet this positive environment. Thanks.